afternoon, very good evening, very good morning, and whatever it is. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, afternoon. In the rest of the world, welcome to our edition number 999 today, as I would call it, because we have done so many, I lose count. Welcome to WFM Community Today Live. We have the pleasure of a very interesting industry, facade lighting. In simple words, lights on a building. In simpler words, flashy stuff on a building. We have a gentleman from a company which was founded in 1910, and I was asking him, hey, what were we doing about facade lighting at that time? So it started actually with lighting, as in bulbs, and then it went further. What is interesting about this subject is that it's not really been covered well. But as you will travel to Dubai, and our August audience are all from Dubai, and I will introduce them one by one. Just allow me for a second. I think one of the most lighted places in the world, Dubai seems to be probably on number one. Maybe Shanghai would be around the area of the top five well lit facade cities. I don't know of others. The American city, let's say New York, is pretty square lighting. The buildings have a light. I'm not biased or unbiased towards US, but it's what you notice lights on. So with the with said that, we have extremely polished audience here who know their subject very well. I'll try to make sure that this is an interesting session where we can talk a little bit about the future. We can talk a little bit about what's going on in the world with facade lighting. So allow me to share screen and first introduce the speakers. Oops. So as you already know, all of you have been attending our sessions. We are a community, a virtual community. We're trying to put all the social media of all the aspects related to facade and fenestration together. I'm happy to share with our audience as well as our panelists that we're opening a blog center soon. Our tech is finalized so that you can do your own podcast. You like a project that you've done, talk about it, tell the whole world what you've done, tell what's good about it, obviously, and tell why anybody else should do something similar. So you will hear our tech testing is going on. Hopefully by April, we should be able to launch anything you'd like to share. It's going to be your own Spotify. Let's see how it goes. So let me start by introducing Aijaz Nakhawa. As you can read, he has a lot of experience. And I don't want to talk about his entire profile, which is written over here. He has a lot of experience. And I think everybody here knows everybody else. So welcome, Aijaz. Yeah. We have Mehrdad, eizadfar, also a very experienced person from hotels, resorts, sustainable energy, and very focused on lighting. Then we have Nauman. I believe I may be wrong here. So Nauman is TEMCO, a Japanese company, which I saw the first name was something.
No, it's Team Shura. This is Jordan.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to just look in the LinkedIn profile just to get a little clarity. And of course, Nauman is also completely focused on lighting. And I will share a small presentation that he has shared about when I saw an underpass and I saw overbridge as well. Then we have Regina Santos, founder, Flight Fusion. Also, I think you all must be extremely creative people fundamentally, because if you can play with light, it requires a lot of creative sense. This is my take on the subject. I may be wrong. I may be right. And we have Rida Mokdad from Debbas. This is the company which was founded in 1910. And Debbas will tell us a little bit more about mega projects and top. And I think Debbas is one of the global giants in this business and in the industry. Sanjiv joins us as a lighting expert. He has a lot of sales and marketing experience in the past. I saw Osram, Philips. So he comes from the manufacturing side of the product to the sales side of the product to now the consulting side of the product. So whatever is left, Sanjiv, going forward in time, you let us know. Maybe the world wants to know what is left, Sanjiv, to do. So I guess we will circle back to that. I also at the same time want to run one, just for the prospect of everybody's understanding. Just 1 second. I just want to showcase this few more slides in terms of what's happening with facade lighting. Everybody can see my slides, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have the Kafur behind. I guess this is the Mall of the Emirates or something like that. I think Nauman can tell us more on that. Also some. This is a design, or this is already done?
This is the approved design.
Okay.
Currently now the slide. This is yeah. This is also the design has approved.
Right.
And yeah,
Wow.
this is already done.
This is a flyover.
This is flyover here in Abu Dhabi. It's called
Wonderful.
the Al Sada Bridge.
And this is somewhere in Dubai for sure.
This is also Abu Dhabi. These
Oh,
are all in Abu Dhabi.
this is all Abu Dhabi. So this is like the collage of all the picture. Okay, this is different. This is just passes and
Yeah, this is also overhead.
beautiful.
This is also one more overhead.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to now stop sharing, and then at another point we'll ask Rida and Regina, who would like to share some pictures with this. So I'll start with a question. So first of all, welcome once again to our show today, and I'm actually more than glad, honored to be doing this because I'm learning. And so let's start with you, Regina. What's the inspiration, and why do people focus now so much on lighting a facade?
Well, I believe that initially the focus on the facade is to enhance the architecture. But then today, with LEDs and the new technology and controls, you have an opportunity, you have a canvas there to display anything. So it's not only limited today, I believe, to the architecture of the facade and the opportunities that that facade can give in terms of enhancing it and enhancing the, the vision of the architect. But how can you actually show something more? Like, how can you transform the building completely at nighttime and show something that was not there before, that can only be perceived through lights? So this, I think, it has been like a huge thing that now is being explored more and more. I still believe that it's important to have a vision, to have a concept, to have something that will give meaning to the use of lighting, and not just use light randomly and change the colors randomly just because you can, but actually having a strong concept is one of the most important things, in my opinion.
Rida, over to you next, and then we'll circle around.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would like to start by sharing a few slides.
Please.
I'm going to give you a bit of a look of what we do and how things evolve. So I'm going to share a small presentation.
Sure.
So these are a few references from around the world on projects we worked on. This is in France. So you can see how the lighting is enhancing the architecture.
Beautiful.
Sorry. And this is here in Dubai. That's the, we're talking about the address building, the hotel. You see how the lines are being accentuated by the LED strips. This is the St. Regis Hotel, also same concept. The architectural elements are highlighted. Here it's a different approach, and on JBR you have a few lines that are highlighted, and this is dynamic, so it's not a static color or there's a movement in that facade. I'll show you more examples around the world. This is still in Dubai. This is in Beirut. That's a famous museum in Lebanon. This is in Kuwait. This is in Lebanon again. That's in Dubai, the opera, you all know it. And that's in Beirut again. So that's the famous hotel in Beirut. This is the Zabil Palace. If you see here, the roads are lit. Where there's the drive over plaza, and you have the facade light on the arch in the middle. This is in New Delhi in India, and you see how the architecture is bringing out these lines. The lighting is bringing out the lines of the architectural elements. That's another example of Palazzo Versace in Dubai. This is in Doha, and that's in India. That's the Louvre. So this is one of the biggest projects. And lastly, we're still doing the commissioning of the famous project in Dubai, the Museum of the Future. You see it in that shape. You see it lit completely in red or other colors, depending on the event. So the point that I wanted to make is that facade lighting used to, as Regina mentioned, used to provide visibility and accentuate the architectural elements. Now, with the technology and the control system and the new products with LEDs, clients want more. As much as they want technology in their phone, they want to use this technology on their facades. They want to control the facade. So the facade lighting is now an experience. It's an interactive experience. So you talk to the residents of the city through your facade. For example, when we had the Mars event, all the buildings were lit in red. So you're conveying a message. When you have the cancer support campaigns, the buildings are lit in pink, etc., etc. So it's no longer a simple architectural element. It's a symbol. It's a means of communication with the residents, with the world. So you show your power, your technological advancement, your economical advancement through the facade lights. So we have endless solutions, endless things to do. So you have a lot of creativity now with the facade lighting. It's not limited to the architectural elements of the building. And this is what I wanted to highlight.
Perhaps let's move it to Aijaz. You're on mute, Aijaz.
Sorry about that. Pretty much sums up, I mean, what Regina and Rida has said. I mean, basically, the facade lighting has to bring out the character of the building, or what the owner or the architect wants to convey, especially at night. I mean, in the daytime, you see the building, fine. But at night, you need to have it, to give it, like a different character or a different, it has to convey a message of what this building is, kind of. And people should be attracted to it. So it's kind of a what do you call it? It's to attract more tourism and attract more people to come into that space and to enjoy the architecture. So facade lighting is one place where you can really show what the building is all about. Basically, if it's a shopping mall, or if it's a commercial building or something. So people need to come in, yes, like inviting them into the space. So facade lighting does the work. It's like your face, when you enter into the building and when you're coming in that space. So that is what facade has to communicate. And yeah, concept is, as Regina said, that concept is very much important to see whether it delivers that character to the building. And there are other things, like nowadays people move out at night, so facade lighting, well lit environment with a lot of facade lighting in that particular district makes you come out, and it's kind of promotes tourism, and it's like gives you more improves the trade also of that district. So it has got multifaceted benefits of having. It's just not only you are trying to light a building, but you are trying to convey a message also. That's what I think.
Let's say Mehrdad and Nauman and Sanjiv add something to this already.
Well, I think my colleagues already covered most of the aspect of the importance of facade lighting. One thing I might add is facade lighting also helps with promoting sense of pride or community pride, and as well as promoting social awareness. Because in a lot of cases, when we are doing a lighting scheme for a facade lighting, we make sure that there are several, especially if we have a control over the facade lighting elements, like in terms of color, or if we can program them, we try to at least dedicate the aspect of it or a scenario of it for promoting social awareness, like having a scheme for breast cancer awareness day or red nose day, and similar things like that. So facade lighting, I mean, it sort of, we can further discuss it down the line, but it can also communicate with your community through facade lighting. Try to promote a sense of pride with that.
Sanjiv?
Yeah, well, I think everyone has said most of the points. What I would like to emphasize is that, see, you create a wow factor. You have a lot of places across the world, but if you see Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong, as you mentioned, Shanghai or New York, these stand out because of the lighting. And where is the lighting? Lighting is the facade. And today, facade also has become a media wall. You convey messages, you convey greetings. If you see Burj Khalifa, the facade itself conveys a lot of things. So these are all the new innovations which is happening, because facade lighting is not new. Long back, we had the facades lit up with just sodium vapor lamps and a blank spray, that's it. But today facade is dynamic. And it depends on, as everyone was telling, the vision, the concept, and of course the monetary factors. If you do that, how much footfalls will you get? How unique you are in differentiating your building. That is more important for the facade.
So Nauman, wrapping up thoughts on this question. Sorry. You're on mute, Nauman.
Hello. I will share some of my experiences that I had. We are a contractor, and we work on public realm, some projects here with Abu Dhabi municipality. So currently we have commissioned one pedestrian overhead bridge. That like the main purpose of the whole idea behind the project is it will like follow the static and dynamic scenes also. For example, whether it is New Year or National Day or some Independence Day of any country, so it will follow automatically the colors of the sequence. So uh, and there are more other projects, like for example the overhead bridges. Like these are all architectural projects. So it will follow the lighting manuals here for the with the municipality, that the light will be accordingly dimmed or switch on at prescribed timing. For example, at weekdays, after in the midnight, like after 11, it will be dimmed to 30% of the opacity. So these are all projects that we are currently working on. That you also share
Interesting.
some project pictures also in the PPT.
I had already shared some of your slides already. So this is just for a layman understanding that project lighting. Can someone tell me which is the first fanciest facade which was lighted in the world? Anybody?
Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower. Okay. And
Amit, if I may, the projects that I showed, our intervention there was as lighting integrators. So our job is to implement the vision of the designers, and we have here some amazing designers with us. The whole inspiration, the design comes from them, and we help them translate it and showcase their vision and how they perceive the project. So it's very interesting, I think, to see how we move from the vision, the design, to the implementation. And we can have a lot of insight from the amazing designers we have here today.
so is it a lot to
Yeah.
do with love? Lighting has to come with love, and Eiffel Tower being the signature of love, I guess. It has to be someone with love and then going on to lighting and then whatever came out of it like now. Is that right to say? Regina, was that right to say?
Yes.
To some extent. So in terms of, I'm going to fast forward to now going forward, I guess the evolution to LED technology, software has a big role to play in lighting, right? Because you could code. I always used to understand, I never, probably somebody can help me understand. All these lights, they are put inside the glass, behind the facade or on the top of the facade. And how do you ensure safety of the lights? And so you guys have a BIM system, which is, integrated, and the panel is there. Somebody's putting the software feed, whatever should appear. That's the way it works. Anybody can take this question up.
I think it's
I can help you if you want. So it's part of the facade system. It depends on if it's a new building or an existing building. So it's usually part of the mullion system of the facade, or it's an add-on facade in case it's an existing building. So we have to work very closely with the lighting designer and the architect to make sure that the architectural detail is well thought of and it is completely integrated. And you have many options in facade lighting, but most of the products are designed to be for outdoor use IP67, IP65, IP66, depending on the designer's requirement. So it is another architectural element. It's a matter of coordination between the lighting designer, the architect, and the contractors.
Does it also, in terms of very layman questions, in terms of capex, for a, let's say, a 10,000 square meter facade, do you have a thumb rule that it will cost you $5 a square meter or $50 a square meter extra? No, there's no capex. Why is there can't be a thumb rule? Why, how do you calculate cost?
Actually,
So basically, I would say that there's an architectural element here. So it depends on what is your requirement. Do you just require a flat structure, or do you require dynamic lighting? Do you require media? So it depends on what your requirement is, and accordingly it is based on that. And as Rida was telling, that we cannot just like that work on something. We have to sit with the owner, the consultant, and then find out the luminaire required. It's not just that I have this and you buy that. No, it is a solution.
So
we are talking about mostly here about, first of all, it has to go with whether it goes with architecture or not. Is it like a plain square building with all glass panels in there, or does it have any kind of solid material where you can highlight them? Or what is the client looking for? Is he looking for something where he wants to have image projection or video projection or something, or he's looking for something else? So it starts with architecture, and how we can implement that design into that and achieve that light level. Does not look like here you got a glass facade, here stick a media facade, done, that's done. It's not like that. It has to have a character. When you talk about building, it has to have a character. If you're talking about a commercial building, you light in a different way. If it's a hotel, you light in a different way. I don't see many buildings, especially hotel buildings, having media facades much where you can project. It's mostly commercial or office buildings which have kind of those side of a design. So it always goes with architecture and what the architect or the client wants to convey. So that's that. Like first comes the idea, and then we need to put in the scheme into it, and then we talk about cost and everything after that.
So there is no hard and fast rule, or there is a brick and mortar story. Maybe Regina, you can share some of your slides in talking about residential lighting. I think your slides are more.
I believe your two questions are quite correlated to one another, because first is like really what is the opportunity in that facade to integrate the lighting, and if we are brought on board early enough, then we can discuss with the architects and create that opportunity to actually put the lights. And from the concept, okay, is it more of a standard lighting, or is it something that has the opportunity within the concept to create a dynamic view of that? So, well, I put some things, but very quickly, very few, very, very short. Just a sec. Well, it's just basically showing between, okay, I'm sharing now. Where is it? Okay, so here, for example, is the first few examples are just like short rise buildings. This is the entrance to the club of this residential area. So in the short rise, we have some opportunities for the facade, but also being mindful of like pollution. Then as Aijaz was saying, like some opportunities for residential and hospitality is not really about the projection. So here we were trying to enhance some of the vertical surfaces of the facade and bringing some interest between the different planes of the buildings. And in another residential building here, we were actually working on the detailing of the niches within the entrance of this villa to actually create those layers of light in these arches. So it's really playing with the lights, doing some mock-ups and finding the opportunities to actually enhance those surfaces. Now, this is a hotel project, and we were playing with two different light color temperatures in the facade and actually creating a media solution where, they would come on and off to bring interest to that facade, but in a very soft and smooth way to bring also an elegance to the facade of the building. So it was not about going fully color changing, but playing with these to color temperatures within the niches. So here you do have the architectural niches that were discussed with the architects during the concept of the building so that we could enhance the facade in this way. And then here you have a more elaborate structure that from the daytime render of the architects, we were working on all the lighting opportunities and how the light would behave. That was also showing what power of the lights we would need to create certain effects and where the opportunities would be, where we would need to integrate the lights to then have the final render showing the main effects that the facade could produce. So all of this combined, wait, where are we? Okay. So all of this combined is like, okay, in each one of them, you have a different cost that is in line with the architecture of that building, is in line with something that has been already coordinated with the architects and approved by the clients. And that once you know how far the client wants to go in terms of investment, right? If he wants to go full on in a media facade and projection and color changing, what's the dynamic features of the controls of the facade, then you can tailor a bit more the cost to understand, okay, this is the cost estimate that you have for that project. And then you refine that with the products that you're using, the selection of products that you're using to achieve those results.
So as a contractor, Nauman, you were mentioning that you take up the turnkey job, what is assigned to you by the designers and the architects, and you buy the lights and execute the project. Is that right? You're on mute.
Yeah, exactly. We have to see the things like put on table, whether whatever the concept of the client, what they want actually, and also as per their budget also. So these things we need to keep in mind while proposing the designs.
So if I largely understand, facade lighting is a great monetization tool for the owner of the building, right? So
Right.
can someone tell me hypothetically how much does Burj Khalifa make in a whole year by doing whatever they're advertising and stuff? I'm not asking for a number. I'm saying, does it add great value to monetization, marketing, advertising?
I think
Rida?
the contribution of Burj Khalifa is great for this whole city. So you cannot actually calculate how much money it's generating, because it's bringing tourists from all around the world, and it's the highlight of the trip of many people visiting Dubai. So it's generating a lot of income for the city and getting a lot of attention. You cannot monetize that. It's priceless for a city to have such projects and such media facades. So
allow
I
me to
think that
rephrase my question. Facade lighting is a great monetizing tool for the owner of the building.
Depends on the building, I believe. Like definitely the Burj Khalifa, but then in some commercial buildings, if you have office spaces and then the owner of the building wants to use a media facade to display commercials, that would not be a very elegant way to do the facade lighting. But then it depends how you want to monetize it. How if you want your building to be an icon and draw attention to it through the refinement of that facade lighting, or how are you actually wanting to generate income from that? Because otherwise it becomes just another outdoor board for advertisement. So we got to be very careful about that, in my opinion.
If I add something to what Regina said as well,
Sure.
maybe the facade lighting won't directly create any monetizing benefit for the building or for the client, but help them to sort of advertise their building. With a good facade lighting, you can attract more people to your building, so the number of the footfall or your customers who want to rent that particular office building also increases. While if a building is not lit properly, people won't bother to go there, because basically the building facade becomes sort of a first impression that a building makes on its visitors. If it's lit properly, definitely a lot of more people are willing to go inside the building and see what is going on there.
So it's actually creating value.
Like
Yes,
that
Sanjiv.
here,
Yes, Sanjiv.
regarding the facade lighting and the concept. In my previous company, we had done the Amazon headquarters in Hyderabad. It is the biggest facility in the world. it really stands apart, and it does not contribute direct sales or no footfalls, but it creates a good feeling for the employees when they go to the office, when they are able to tell this is my building, and it stands out in the whole district. That is the one concept for having a good facade and light.
So it's an internal satisfaction point to the client, to the owner, as well as an external factor as
Yes.
well. So in terms of today's day and age, and let's fast forward 5 years from now, there's enough choice of material of facade lighting and people available with enough expertise available. What are you unhappy about as an industry? Maybe Aijaz, we can start with you. Is there anything which makes you unhappy with your industry right now? Come on, bring it out. Tell that the whole world.
The other thing is the client is always trying to cut down on cost.
Yeah.
First thing is cost. So then they kind of try to cut corners. You know, the thing is design. Okay, everybody can do lighting design, as they say. You know, even the suppliers also claim they can do lighting design, or even the architect can say they can do lighting design, or even the interior designer also can come and say. But then when you go into the detail of it, it's really difficult for people to really, you know, go into the detail and get the product out, what you have shown on the concept. So that's where we feel like you know, it looks like it seems to be very simple. Lighting design seems to be very simple. People say it's so easy, just you have a light and that's it, the building is lit. But then when you talk about more details about glare, about color, about spill light, about you know, sustainability and all that stuff, then the things people start talking about having proper designers in place. So that's what I think it is like. It has to come to the experts to really you know, cover that detail. And of course, the suppliers and the manufacturers are there to help us, because they are the one who bring us the products. That's where they bring us all the new ideas, in fact, and what is possible, and what they help us in making our vision in reality, and the contractor also help us in doing it. So it's like a complete cover, you know, what do you call it? Complete teamwork. But yeah, then when the cost is the only thing which kind of hampers you know, going forward onto a project and realizing it in the way we have envisioned it, or we have shown it to the client. That's
but you are in a fortunate area called the Middle East, and especially Dubai, where people say, how much more can I spend? In some cases, of course, only a very few.
It was the case, I would say, 10 years ago. 2007, 2006 was the time where you can command. But after 2008, everybody has come back to their senses, and now they are trying to keep it to the minimum. But yes, still get the aim is higher, but the budget comes down.
So just to supplement another question, and anybody could, are there any standards or local norms and regulations in Dubai by the Ministry of Civil Defense or anybody on facade lighting? Is there any law?
There are a few in place, but they're following the American and you know, the British, the international standards basically. So they are kind of follow them, but there are a few bits where we have to really look at how much spill light we are allowed on the facade, especially what light goes up in the sky. We were talking about a lot of light pollution out here. So sustainability is there, the surrounding environment also is there. People are talking about having the lights to be very properly controlled, and the color temperature and the color of light and the dynamics, whether you have a flashy light or something, all these things have to be done in a particular, in a very controlled environment or in controlled standards. So yeah, there are standards, and people and the client wants you know, us to follow them, and it is not in the client's perspective, in the municipality level also they are trying to enforce this kind of you know, standards.
I'm just assuming again as a layman, light is pretty distracting sometimes, and if you have too much of it and it continues to be there 24 hours at the night time, it is distracting, right?
Yeah, that's why we always we always tell, that's where the control comes into place. You know, you switch them off after 1 o'clock. You know, all the ones which are non-essentials, or are the ones which are the facade lighting especially, we try to minimize them as much as possible at night, where people are not going to see, and it's only the security lights or only the essential lights are kept on. So yeah, that's the control is helps us to make that work.
So
at night.
The control is super important, but also being able to dim the light, all the different lighting, the different elements. Today you even have signage to pharmacies and banks and other commercial places that are all on full power, and they can become so glary. So like from the facade and everything that we see at nighttime, I think that the brightness levels, they need to be toned down a bit. So besides the curfew that Aijaz is mentioning, like, okay, after a certain hour, you can turn things off, but also being able to tone them down and bring the dimming to the facade to actually balance the brightnesses and the light levels, it's important.
So let's say,
as a supplier, 1 minute.
Yes, please, Sanjiv.
As a supplier, we usually recommend less is more, because if you just floodlight the whole thing, it doesn't look nice. So we actually work alongside with the architect and consultant to bring in the best. Only if we bring in the best and we suggest less is more, then only the next project comes to us. So we really play a big role there in suggesting such things.
So another follow-up question on this subject of less is more. So what's the future, Rida, what's the future? Let's say you were talking about there's a lot of work happening, and let's give the good news out to the whole world that there's a lot of lighting work in the Middle East. That doesn't mean that we bring more competition to you guys, but what's going on? What's it looking like?
I think the technology is becoming more accessible and more affordable, and there are regulations, but they are not very strict. So I think this is being addressed now, and we're going to see more regulations related to facade lighting and media facade, because soon people who weren't able to invest in facade lighting or media facade will be able, because of the technology is so advanced and it's becoming more affordable. And we don't want to see a forest of media facade buildings everywhere. So that's the worry. And it's very important to keep the designers involved in the whole process, because they are the ones who can control the light pollution and integrate to the surrounding. So it's very important to have more stricter regulations, have more designers involved from inception to completion of the project. And technology-wise, the sky is the limit. I mean, you can do things nowadays that you couldn't dream of 10 years ago. So you have innovative solutions every day in lighting, in facade lighting, in media facade, and even lit surfaces. So we have LED chips integrated in the glass panels. So you have a whole world of solutions that you can use. It's important to regulate all this and to keep it within a certain urbanistic view.
Do you also can do solar lighting inside, which can self-generate power? I'm just a question.
Yeah,
lighting inside.
Yeah. I mean, the lights, the power can generate itself.
No, you have the solar panels, but then the energy goes into a battery, and then that battery can generate the lights to feed into the building. Like the Dewa Solar Innovation Center is a good example here in Dubai, because we have the whole solar farm around it, and all the panels are actually bringing lights to power the building and to feed also power into the city.
Okay, what is wrong lighting? When you see a building and said, what the blah, this is so blah. What is that? Rida, maybe you can give us a thought on that. This is bullshit.
No, I'll let the designer comment on that.
Okay, designer. So we have the three designers who can make a comment on that.
Ladies first, I guess.
Yeah, ladies first. Regina first.
Well, yeah, I think everybody does get a bit shocked sometimes driving by. It's like, ooh, there are some things that happen. But I think everybody, like, going the other way around, I think everybody can recognize a good and interesting facade and have that soothing feeling like, wow, that's amazing, right? And then, and everybody knows what you feel when you see something that is like more delicate.
Don't be so diplomatic. Just brash it. What is wrong about it? What is not nice from a design perspective? Since Rida said, let the designers answer it. So,
oh boy. Well, today I think that LEDs, when you
let me pause
like,
for a second. The idea is the audience should get to at least have an idea from a design perspective what is not good to do. The X points.
What is not good to do? Okay. Right. Well, today you have a lot of room for experimentation, right? To have a lot of things happening in the facades, but not every single reveal of a facade needs necessarily to be lit. Like, for example, right? Aiming is important. The control of the optics of the fixtures is incredibly important. Like, how you're balancing the lighting of the facade. Like, okay, you have visible LEDs. Are they like dotty LEDs, or do you actually have a homogeneously, like, surface, and the fixture is encapsulated, so you're not seeing visible dots there? Do you have actually a reveal in the facades to conceal the fixture, or you're just attaching stuff to the facade and having, like bulky elements just sticking out just because it came as an afterthought to the facade design and it's something just put there? However, there are different things that are happening today. Also, the failure of LED, especially in this environment that we have such high temperatures that some fixtures of lower quality can fail drastically. I think the worst thing today, as Aijaz was saying, is when you do a very good concept and specification and that gets substituted just for whatever, just because it's cheap and cost effective to whomever. So in the end, it can be very much to the detriment of the project. So behind that, you can have a great idea and a great specification, but if it's not executed properly, then it can be a disaster.
Aijaz, you want to add something to that?
I want to add.
Yeah,
Sure.
Let
Aijaz go first, then Sanjiv can add. Aijaz?
Yeah. Sometimes, like, okay, I've seen, this looks like a nice lighting. Let me see after 6 months whether it still works or not, or whether some of them are really working or not. That comes to know what quality of light has been used. I mean, I would say it was better to not light the building than using low quality products. And they have to be tested properly. They have to have a fee, like what do you call it? Like a track record that they have used it for a year. Whenever I try to use any particular new product, I always ask them, what is your track record? Are you able to, especially out here, temperatures are really high, 50 degrees, 40 degrees, and LEDs are very sensitive to them. So we have to be very careful about what light source we use. So when we see this, broken lines or broken dots or some areas not lit, that makes a bit, like the lighting designers' hard work has been put to trash, actually. So that's what I feel like. Quality of the product which is used has to be.
Do you have, Aijaz, a final say till the contract is awarded, usually? Like, you give the design and everything to the client and he says bye-bye, or he says, come sit with me and we'll make a joint decision.
Well, yeah, there are certain there are phases of the project when we do a detailed design, and then after post-contracting, so where they keep on asking us, sending us drawings, sending us proposals. What do you think about this light? What do you think about that? So we always ask them to give us first. I would say show me on paper how does it perform, and then later on show me the samples, and then we also ask about track record of the suppliers who are going to supply, whether there will be any after sales. So all those things are there till the end. And the final thing also, when we do this setting also, the lights are not of the same brightness as we want it. We need to bring them down to a certain level. So at final setup also is it's in the contract itself. So it depends on the client whether they want us to engage for those.
In the real world, it's what you are saying is what you would like to have, but that's
no.
Not
this happens. This happens if the client really educated. He has burnt his fingers. He has burnt his fingers earlier. So that means if that kind of client will definitely go for, okay, please help me till the end of the project.
But the funny world is the first client for the first 10 years tries to burn all his fingers. And then after 15, 20 years, he gets maturity. Then he probably will not burn more fingers because there's nothing to burn.
Well, it comes,
This is my
it becomes
experience.
after the first year of installation, he'll come to know.
Right, through that. As a designer, Mehrdad, you want to add something to this thought?
I think for me, actually, what makes a building not lit properly is when it's competing with the surrounding. Especially sometimes some buildings are competing with themselves as well. The external facade lighting is competing with internal lighting, and sometimes it makes sense that the best way of lighting a facade is no facade lighting at all. One of the good examples of that one would be Dubai Opera House, which Rida showed a picture of it earlier. In that project, I was fortunate enough to work in that project, and what we end up doing is providing no absolute facade lighting for the project and let the internal lighting just shine and define the overall built envelope of the Dubai Opera House. There are a lot of projects like that happening across the world, and sometimes maybe less is more is really less is more. Let's not light the facade and let's not compete with your surrounding just to make you stand out.
Sanjiv, you were saying something. Sorry, yeah.
This is from Qatar. We just moved from Dubai to Qatar for a few minutes. Most of these stadiums for the FIFA, they were lit. But then you have the contractor in place, sorry to the contractor, but then the budget constraints. And as I was telling you, less is more, less was really worse. And then we had done certain lighting designs for enhancement. And then now the new tenders have been released for lighting enhancement in those stadiums. This is one example of actually a bad lighting. Design was perfect, but implementation was not good because the budget constraint, and people said less is more, you just light it up. I went there, we had only around 10 lux, and for one facade they were using the paint manufactured by Ferrari, the Ferrari red, and it was not seen. Can you imagine how much millions of dollars has been spent on the paint? So that is one example which I wanted to share.
I think to do a good job, you spend at least 2 to 3 times more if you don't do it first time right. This is, of course, I'm sure all of your experience as well. You do a bad job, you spend 2-3 times to get it right. You do a good job, you probably spend 1.5 times, but you still get it right for the rest of the life of the project. And that not is reflective to just facade lighting, but just the facade itself or the building itself or the civil or the plumbing or the fire. Rida, I was mentioning earlier about there's a ton load of work happening and we are too busy with work. So can you talk a little bit more on that to get our audience aware that there is light via facade lighting? There's always light at the end of the tunnel, through the tunnel actually, in this case.
I mean, we're lucky to be in this part of the world where our clients understand the importance of design and having good designers on board and having the designers on board till the end of the project and getting quality projects and having a budget and not shrinking the budget to a point where it defeats the purpose of having higher designers and architects. So people here appreciate lighting, they understand it, and we saw a quantum leap in the quality of facade lighting, and we're getting now a lot of requests for facade lighting and a lot of requests also to work on existing buildings to enrich the architecture or renew the facade lighting systems. And I want to say something that a good architectural design can be ruined by poor lighting design. And at the same time, a poor architectural design can be really improved by good lighting. So it's very important to understand how lighting can contribute. It's not only about facade, even the interior lighting has a very important role in landscape and interior. And as Mehrdad said, sometimes the interior light is the facade light. Landscape light is the will contribute to the facade light. So it's not one element. You cannot take it out of context. It's the whole project together.
Thank you, Rida. And I'm going to take one last question and ask everyone to share their opinions on it. The question is your own question and your own answer. Fundamentally, what is, as a facade designer, a manufacturer of, facade lighting designer or a manufacturer of facade lighting material and installer? We start again with Regina. What are your last words to the whole industry who's watching us today? What's the most important thing for facade lighting that everybody should be cognizant about going forward in the next 10 years of our life? And
to make it short, I think quality of concept, quality of the products that are selected, and quality of installation and in the integration of everything.
And in terms of your clients, what would you tell all the clients who are in the MENA area, what they should be more cognizant? When you give them some good advice, they should take it, right?
Well, the thing is that what I always try to do in every project is show the actual product to the client. You know, demonstrate the product, like light it up for them. Show them, okay, this is the quality of the build quality of the product. This is the optic of the product. This is how it performs. This is like the certifications that the product has. Like after, of course, the concept have been approved. So in the end, they are aware of what they're actually buying. So if they have a choice later on to actually substitute that, you will receive a material submittal and you will choose to approve it or not, but based on a comparative test. And then you'll be able to tell the client, like, okay, this is a poor decision or a good decision, but at least you have a basis for him to actually make a good and educated investment on his product and on his project. So in the end, I think everybody here is very well experienced, like especially Aijaz, and you know, it's like the products together with a good quality concept is what can actually give a good result. And if the client understands that and trusts that you can deliver the solution, then I think that you can have a good result on the project.
Aijaz?
Well, I also agree with what Regina said. And I would like to. But the thing is, I also want to understand the client. I mean, a client is spending the money. They want to see their building in a particular. They want to show. They want to communicate to the people that this is my building. This is what I want you to do with it. You know. So we also, as a designer, need to understand what they are trying to achieve and how much are they ready to spend on it. And if what they want and how much they're going to trying to spend, if they don't match, we need to tell them that you need to increase your budget to reach to this level, or you have to come down to this level to meet your budget. So both options we can give it to them, and then let them make the choice to go whichever way they want us. So it is our duty to make them understand also why we are trying to do the lighting in a particular way, and why they should be doing in a particular way. When they come up with, I mean, we don't know each and every product. There might be somebody who might come up with a very nice product at a very low cost. So we should be open to see that product and make a judgment and tell the client if it has got like 80% is better, 20% is not good. So he might face these problems. If he's ready to take that on board, then he can go ahead with this product. So it's like we try to give very unbiased opinion, kind of, and let the client make the decision on his own. Kind of. That's what I think.
So I want to ask Sanjiv a question. There's ample good quality material, software, hardware available for facade lighting. Yes.
Yes. It's available, and with reputable manufacturers, they give a complete solution. It's not that just apply the lights and get a third party. No, we try to integrate everything on our own, and that is the best solution. One thing here I would like to add is that since the concept of LEDs have come, most of the manufacturers, they are giving up to 5-year warranty on their products. So it is always good for a consumer or a buyer or an owner or a contractor to buy some. Everybody is offering a 5-year warranty these days. So it is always good to go with a known manufacturer who is offering maybe at a little bit higher price, but you know that he will stand with you. Like Rida was telling, Debbas is 110 years old. I was in that 100th ceremony in Germany. So you stand by it. I was with Philips and Osram. These are all 100-year-old companies. So you stand by it. Stand by the word.
No, I think having said that, there's enough, like you said, quality material available, quality designers available, quality expertise available. One would only wonder why they screwed up the lighting of a project for whatever reason. Is just essentially because of maybe price or just somebody. There's a question from the audience. I'd like to spell it out, and whoever wants to take it can take it. It says, is there any relation between the facade architectural style and the method, technique of facade lighting design? By another way, there are also facade lighting designs. What is the main constraints criteria while designing facade lighting, taking into consideration lead points, power, energy, decreasing? Do you get the question, anyone? What's the main constraint and criteria while designing a facade lighting?
I think it's the finishes. I mean, the color of the finishes, what kind of finishes are there? We are actually trying to light up the building. So we need to know what is the finishes. So maybe that is the main constraint. There's one, and the other one would be whether you can integrate a light in that. It should not stick out of the building and stand on its own. It should blend with the building. So it's very difficult for us to integrate a light in a building if it has to light up a particular facade, and we don't have that much space. So that's another thing, location of lights and the finishes. We have to be very careful about whether it's a glossy finish or the matte finish or it's a glass or it's translucent. All those things have to be taken care of before we really decide when you put a light on a building.
So there's enough software for you to determine how that works, right?
Well, the software is another thing. Software is only for how much lux levels you can get or how you are trying to show the building. But the actual thing comes when you are having the material with you and the light source. So you test them together. Having the physical samples is very, very important.
You simulate based on those samples.
Well, the thing is, we do the simulation first, and then we try to work out also how it can be mitigated. Whether if the client has given me a glossy surface, I have to ask him, give me a matte surface to light up this in this particular way. Or we can change the design based on what we get, because we don't get all the information in the first scope. It's only a picture when we get in the concept. We don't get the material finishes and everything. We always ask for it, but it is not finalized at that stage of the project. So we make a judgment based on the picture which we get, kind of, and then we move forward from there. So it's like different design stages where the design keeps on changing, and we come to a final design when it is like the final detailed design is done. Yeah.
It's also important, I believe, to be on board early enough so that you can workshop the facade with the architect, understand what are the opportunities, where you can actually integrate the fixtures if the architect is willing to create that opportunity for the lighting. If you're early enough in the project, it has happened also that sometimes you're brought on board and that you need to deal with what's already there because the building is already under construction, and you don't have an opportunity to actually integrate the lights. So it's in different stages of the project, you can integrate the lighting in different ways. So the earlier, the better is also one point that your design can actually be in line and coordinated with the architecture and everything.
Who's finally responsible for the facade lighting result? Who takes the onus of a screw up or whatever? It doesn't go well. Who's finally responsible? Rida? Sorry, Rida? Who's finally responsible?
Everyone's responsible. It's
single point.
At the end of the day, it's a design that is being implemented, and mistakes can happen anywhere. It's easiest to blame the last guy on board. So that's your short answer. But I think it is very important what Regina said, to have the lighting designer on board early on, right at when the architecture design is being developed. Otherwise, it's very hard to reintegrate. You can always work around it, but it's going to be, it won't be as efficient as a design that is customized based on the architect vision. So mistakes can happen from either side. It can be a client's mistake to decide to go for cheaper material, or to decide to value engineer a design in a way that does not show the design intent anymore. It can be the mistake of a contractor who didn't know how to handle the material or install it, and this is how you see a line that with a missing tooth on a facade. So mistakes can happen everywhere, but when you hire a good team right from the design phase till the completion, testing, commissioning phase, there should be an issue.
Well, I hope that the conscience is more important in terms of anything which is done right and wrong. Mehrdad, any closing thoughts from your side?
One more thing which I want to add here is that when a concept is brought in and it becomes a project, it takes a period of, let's say, 6 to 12 months or maybe 24 months. By this time, the LEDs are progressing. Within 6 months, you see LEDs bringing in more lumens per watt. So it is up to the supplier to keep on educating the consultant and the architect on what is happening. Otherwise, by the time the supply is done, the concept has changed. The lumen package is increased. The beam angle has changed. So it has to work on a continuous basis. The supplier has to work on a continuous basis with the contractor, architect, and consultant. So this is what I feel.
Perfect. Mehrdad, any closing thoughts?
I think, Regina and Aijaz already touched about this topic already, but I think what is one of the most important factor for our industry is education, educating the client, allied professions, and our suppliers and the contractors about what is good lighting is all about. Because I have so many cases that all they are asking is what is the lux level on this wall, which practically I don't really care about it. I'm all about what is the mood or the concept that I'm trying to achieve or present the impressions I'm trying to achieve for the overall built environment. So educating the clients about the good lighting, good materials, and also the value that they will get for the money that they're going to spend. That's quite important. At the end of the day, I think I see lighting is not as an engineering profession, but it's a mixture of art and engineering, because it has both. You need to delve into both aspects of the profession, both artistic side of it and also the engineering. And educating the client and the allied profession is quite important for the lighting industry.
Well, thank you for your final thoughts. I think let me just put a little summary takeaway for this entire session that we've had so far. I think facade lighting adds the wow factor to any building. You just have to use it correctly. Not every building needs to be lit. Not every building corner has to be lit. It has to be designed so that the designers still have something to do. And no, I mean, they have something to add value. And I think what I really like about the factor is that there is tourism inside. There is also a community pride. And I think Mehrdad mentioned about social awareness and a lot of other activities which could be taken that the building speaks about from the local community. So it has a variety of plus points to light it up in the right way. And of course, I think Regina mentioned about how you can make a building not look nice, and if you're not using the lighting, or Sanjiv mentioned about poor quality materials, change of mindset, cost, all of these put together. I think that goes as a principle of life. But afterthoughts and value engineering are very dangerous words, according to me, because they always go in the wrong way in terms of trying to screw up everything. But once bitten, twice shy. And then I don't think once bitten, twice shy holds any good. It's once bitten, 5 shy also. Sometimes it can go in continuity. But I think largely, first of all, thank you all very much for sparing your time. And I would like to take the opportunity in the next 6 months or so to actually work on a education on, and Mehrdad, you mentioned about education. what the world needs. WFM community, that's the own purpose. It's like my CSR where we're trying to evolve the industry. So I would actually hold you all good and catch you all together, designers, to actually run an education webinar on how to choose your lighting. I hope that should be okay with you, to actually run it for the industry. In 6 months time, we should expect 10,000 in our community. So there'll be a larger audience. We'll still try to do it online and try to be able to spread out the message to the clients. What are the important things to follow in a very unbiased way, without adding cost as a factor, just basic principles of lighting. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, it is.
So then all of you will,
It can help. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
somebody is doctor or not, but you already get an upgrade to Professor Aijaz, Professor Regina, and Professor Mehrdad, and of course, all the others are welcome too. So with that, thank you so much for the last 1 hour. I appreciate. Wish you a happy
Thank you
week
very
ahead.
much.
We still have some days to go, and we will stay connected. And thank you all for joining the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. Bye.
Bye-bye.